Hey, welcome to the Cornerbird stream. I'll be picking up where I left off in the previous stream. I wanted to stream on Friday last week, but things happened, so I'll be doing it today. I feel like I should have drank more coffee. I'm so tired. I need my coffee. Oh, before I start, I just want to address someone's live stream chat comment, which I totally missed out because I forgot to check the live chat. But so Thomas was asking if I have autosave enabled, and I'm not really sure whether he was referring to Blender or Nomad Sculpt. Anyway, thank you for the kind comments, and I'm so glad that my stream was enjoyable to you. So regarding the autosave for Nomad Sculpt, I have autosave enabled, and I think it's set to default. I think I remember seeing some tutorials online where they put the autosave a bit later, but I kind of just left it where it is because it is kind of helpful to have the autosave just, I guess, set to default, because I don't know when my sculpt will crash and all that stuff. I mean, Nomad Sculpt is quite stable, but sometimes I do stupid stuff, so it's a user error kind of thing. And I mean, seeing how I missed that question, I feel like maybe I should put the live chat open on my screen, but then it's quite nerve-wracking, so I'm not going to do it. Anyway, I need to focus on my work. Oh, and regarding Blender, if there's an autosave feature in Blender, I'm not really sure what it is. So I guess everything is set to default. If the Blender default autosave is on by default, it will be on. So thanks for the questions, and I hope that you guys have a nice day and enjoy the work that I'll be doing today. So I have some notes written down here. This is just a reference for myself. A lot of these notes are from the very first Blender stream that I was doing, but more specifically it was for, let me just open this up. More specifically, it was the notes that I compiled when I was working on my first Nomad Sculpt project, and I think it's this one. So it was I guess when I was working on it, there were a few things which I used a lot. To finish this project, and I showed the render the other day, but I can show it again. I'll be doing a live stream of adjusting this project because I'm still not happy with the color choices, I guess. I kind of want to make it more blue, maybe. Like, it's kind of nice right now, but I'll see what it looks like when I make adjustments to the color scheme or the color palette of this sculpt. So when I was doing this project, there were some stuff which I have to Google on, like shortcut keys, how to do stuff, and so these are just things that I've realized that I've used a lot, and I just compiled them. So they're kind of like specific to my workflow, my Blender workflow, and what I do specifically and all that stuff. It might not apply to others, but hopefully they're useful to anyone who's picking up Blender too. So like what I usually just do with Blender is to bring my Nomad Sculpt OBJs in. So export my sculpt as OBJ file, bring it into Blender. So that's one. Assign procedural materials using the shader, using this shading workspace, and then light it, and I guess just render it. It's really simple. So I don't have animation, I don't have UV unwrapping, because that's not really my focus. I don't have rigging, animating, composite. Maybe I'll do a little bit of compositing, but it's not really, especially with this test render, I don't think I'll be touching it that much. And like sometimes you can do compositing kind of with painting apps like Procreate or Krita, I guess. So yeah, like I think if you want to do UV unwrapping for your sculpt, there might be more things to learn. So that's going to be missing in my Blender live stream. But this is not a tutorial, this is just me doing my work, so hopefully it will be fun to watch me struggle doing this. So I'll just go through my Blender notes, because I wrote this like in the middle of the night, and I think I don't really remember what I wrote. So let's just go through each of them step by step. Let's see, Blender 4.2 versus 4.0. So for if you missed my previous stream where I was setting this up, at the end of that stream, I briefly mentioned about 4.2 breaking something for my Nomad Sculpt, but that's why I wrote this. But it seems like that's been fixed, I think. So I brought it into 4.2, and there's nothing weird happening to it. I will bring up my previous sculpt project and show you what is. Oh, maybe I should open this file. Let me see. Let's see if opening a 4.0 version will break it. But since there's nothing wrong with this, I will close this up. Okay, let's see. This is Yeah, ding. You know what? I think whatever weirdness that I was experiencing the other time has been fixed. I don't even know why like these things are fixed when I'm live streaming. It's really weird. Well, I'm very old school, so I'm going to just use 4.0. There are quite a lot of cool 4.2 stuff. I've checked videos on what 4.2 update. I've checked videos on 4.2 updates and new features and all that cool stuff. Is it this one? Maybe if I open this one, it will break. And I guess it kind of makes sense for me to use 4.2, maybe. But yeah, you can see with my old sculpt, there are these really weird things going on. And it's something to do with it having some custom split normals data. So I guess somewhere along the line something was fixed because the Messmer Sculpt is not doing this. But just to show how if you have these weirdness happening when you, I guess, upgrade to 4.2 and then this happens, like this shit happens to your mesh, then just go to the vertex data. Is this even vertex data? No, object data, properties, and then clear custom split normals. Okay. And that should fix whatever shit's happening. But yeah, I guess moving forward I should be using 4.2. But I'm not going to. So okay, let's go to the next step, which is the overall setup. And this is something that I keep forgetting. So just make sure that under your preference settings, that you, let me see the system, that you have GPU enabled. If you have it, it's going to be a lot faster. And remember to go to render properties and change this to GPU 2. I keep forgetting this one. And then remove environment color. Okay. So right now it's, let me just cut this. Right now it's using the HDRI, but by default I would set, where is this? Transparent is here. So by default, when I'm starting any lighting rendering setup, I will switch this to complete darkness. This is under the world properties and color, because then that way it doesn't interfere with your I'm not really sure, because I've seen some Blender lighting workflows online on YouTube, and a lot of people just put it to gray or something. Oh, this is the first thing that they adjust. So if you want, I think it'll be a good idea to adjust this first as an overall lighting setup. But to me, sometimes when I want to set up my lights, so right now I have 4 lights. Normally I'll just turn this off, and then I'll do maybe like this afterwards. or maybe HDRI. I'm so tired. Okay. Remove environment lights. So yeah, it affects the brightness of the scene. So you have to keep that in mind when you're doing your lighting. Adjust overall and oh. The next step, which I usually do, all these are just the steps that I do for myself, by the way. The next step that I usually do is adjust these based on what I feel like, what makes sense. I'm not going to go through them because I think there are better settings out there. But these would be good to adjust. I personally like medium high contrast or high contrast. So I'm going to render this for the first time. So I normally like to use medium high contrast. And like I can't really show it now, I think. Wait, I guess I can if I switch this to where is the renders image. Is there a way to bring up maybe this? Oh yeah. Okay, I guess it's the image editor. So if you look at this tab under render properties, color management, I think by default it might be none, or maybe base contrast. I don't recall. But you can put it to high contrast and or medium high contrast. I think I tend to like medium high contrast because it just makes the image pop just a little bit more. And exposure, I think default is 1, but I kind of just like my images brighter overall, so I also just set this to maybe 1.2, 1.5. I think I'm not really sure whether it's better not to, or it's better to put this, but this will affect these will affect the renders only, so that's a nice thing to have too. So imagine if you, now what I mean by that is that if you have rendered your images, so right now it's in slot 6, I need to remember to always render in slot 1. You know what, let me just do that. So once you have the image rendered and it's in one of your slots, can I close this? Or will that affect the render? Oh god, it's hanging. Oh my god. Regrets. Can you just render here? Feel like such a noob using. I don't want to render. Do I want? Oh my god. No, stop. Okay. How do I render this without bringing that up? Okay, you know what? So once you have a slot rendered, like this. Oh, I guess, let me just bring this up. Why is this? How do I hide this? Is it because I rendered this? Oh. I'm gonna wait till the render's done. Okay, the render's done. Clear the boundaries. Okay, so that removes the... So once you have a render in the render slot, you can switch this around and it wouldn't be baked in. And I don't even know what I'm saying, but these will not be baked in, so you can always change them whenever you change your mind, which is a cool thing. So let's say I feel like it's too dark, I change my mind, I don't want it to be exposure 1.5. Can just set it to 2 and it is, and if I change my mind again, I want to revert it back, you can change to 1.5. If I feel like the contrast is too high, then I can change this too. So that's a nice thing to have. I'm not really sure like whether or not it's nice to adjust the gamma. I don't really touch it. So I guess it's looking quite cool. Let's keep going. Yeah, so the color management tab will only affect existing renders in the render window, and you don't need to re-render to see the effects. I think I forgot about that in my first sculpt, and I was adjusting this and re-rendering to kind of like see the effects, until maybe like one time the window was open while I was adjusting it, and I realized that it changes the whole thing. And I was like, oh, feeling so stupid. Okay, adjust this if you want to. I guess this so I've gone through this. I'm using the text editor, by the way. The colors are really cute. I think the only colors that I changed was the only colors I changed, and you can change your colors here under Blender Preference Themes, and when you scroll down there's a text editor. You open that up. The only thing that I changed was the syntax comment. I don't know anything about programming, but I know that putting a hash key is turns the line into a comment. And the default was dark gray, which was a bit unreadable for me, but it makes sense for if you're using it in the script, like when you're writing a script, because you don't want the comments to get in the way of your view. But I'm using this to write my notes, so I swapped this, and everything else is by default and is cute, so I'm not going to change it. Add a plain setup backdrop. So the next thing to do, which I've done off stream to test everything, is to make a backdrop. I feel like I need to put this at the top, or maybe I put this. Never mind, just leave it. No, I don't want to measure stuff. Stop it. Delete this. So the other the next thing, which is step 5, add the plane. So normally what I do with this is to just add a, let me hide this one, add a plane, scale it up, and I'm really kind of like really shit with shortcut keys, so I'm just going to do this and then each loop, Control R, okay, and then Control R to do this, Control R do that, Control R here to just keep the, and I'll show you why for anyone who has like 0 modeling experience, I'll show you why I have to do that. Under Modifiers tab, add subdivision, and maybe bring this up to 2. Actually, not really. I don't really need to bring this up to 2. I just need to, what is a shortcut key? Oh, and then right click. I'm just going to be like super slow today. No, I can't do that. So go back to layout, object mode, right click, shade smooth. Or is shade auto smooth better? No, shade smooth. So you can see that, let me just delete this one. Delete, oh my god. What am I supposed to do with this if I want to, oh, dissolve? So if you want to use the subdivision modifier, you have to put more edge loops on the edges. So I'm going to do that. So you can see like this one, if I change this to maybe face mode, no. You can see this one is smoothing out just based on these 4 points. I don't really know how to explain. I'm just doing it based on what I'm seeing. So if you put an edge on the boundary of this mesh, it will push the curve edge further down. So it's really just like simple bringing that down. And if you find that this is bending too much, you can also do the same. You can make a sharp crease or make a smooth plane, just like that. So when you look at the rendering, you can see the area. No, I can't highlight this, but you can see that there's this gradient of light happening. Although maybe, and I'm just going to delete this because it's an extra one. So you can see the light. Kind of want to point onto my computer screen, but I can't. So just look at my mouse cursor. But you will see that this is where the plane bends. And the sharp, I guess I can just move this. I feel like this is so hectic. It's supposed to be chill, but it's not. So you can see the lighting relies quite a lot on this backdrop. Like it can change quite a lot depending on where the curve is where the wall is, I normally just put it something like this, kind of like a studio setup, and I make the plane curve smoothly so that I don't see a really sharp transition from here to here. Like if you can see, like over here the brightness is quite bright, and then you can see the gradient as it curves over here. So the sharper this edge is, which I can easily do it here, I guess, the sharper the steeper the gradient is, the harsher you'll see these lines. And I just prefer it to be smooth so that it gives a variation to the renders. So yeah, I think I can also explain this. I like to paint, but I'm not really that good at it. But there was a time when I was learning I was following a painting tutorial by the master painter Craig Mullins. If you look at the camera, it's not that sharp. Why did I choose this color? This is awful. Awfully unreadable. And so if you look at this, what he likes to emphasize is that the colors or the values that you put, I guess not colors, because he always says the colors doesn't matter, but the values that you put on any surface should have a diagonal gradient, because something like this will look kind of boring, but then something like this will give a lot of texture, a lot of life. So this applies to even small objects that you are painting, that you don't want the light and shadow to be completely like that. You still want a diagonal happening. Something like that. So you see this versus this. This looks better. So I think the same thing can apply to doing lighting and rendering in Blender. Let me go back there. Where you kind of just try to make any surface values, changes in values, change in the diagonal plane. That's just like some side note which I just keep in mind. So maybe I'll just put it here. Although I feel like he phrased it so much better than me. So change. I guess I'll just call it values. Okay, so next one. Oh, and one of the things that you have to take note of is that if your camera, let's say, points this way, just extend, let me see, just extend it out till it's not in the view of the camera. So let's say if I want to render at this angle, maybe like here, you can see the boundary of the backdrop, and you just have to check that the boundaries of your camera frame or camera view doesn't show the edge of the backdrop, because it will look really weird. I think group objects based on material assignment. So this is something that I've done for this, but I will do I'll do a demo for these objects right here. So in the previous stream, I was decimating all my objects I was decimating them to reduce the polygon. But I was thinking that in the chance that I need in the chance that I need, I did some test renders right here. In the chance that I need to render like the high poly version, I just exported out the high poly version. So you can see this is the high poly version, and this is the decimated version. But I think for the purpose of doing procedural materials, the low poly is a lot better than using like a dense polygon mesh. So let me just bring up. I think if I put it like this, you can see it. So you can see like this is just a default material. You can see like areas like this. It's quite like it's lacking a lot of details. Areas like this too. And I think areas like this is still fine, but it's a bit lacking. And I can smooth it out. It's just if I smooth it out, then it's still lacking details, which wouldn't really matter if the procedural materials that I'm using is not has a lot of, how do you call that, has a lot of like variations. But just a simple gray standard like principle BDSF is going to show how low poly this is. And I think this is the high poly version. I haven't put like shade smooth or anything on this, so this is just a shade flat. And you can see like for just a very simple material that it is a lot better to just use the high poly version with no decimation. So I think, let me close this. But let me just do another demo on how I change the materials. I guess I'll do a shading viewport. So I have this object here from my previous sculpt where I have all the test materials that I've created a bunch of test materials, and I just want to use that to make the test renders for the Messmer project. So what I do is to, first of all, because it's at the kind of like different focal point, like before this I was rotating around the Messmer Sculpt like this, but then now the bird is here, and if I rotate around this bird is going to be like that. Oh, that's so cute. So what I want to do is to focus on this object so that I can rotate around the bird instead. And I think there's a numpad shortcut key to just click on to do that, but I don't have a numpad. So you can click on the tilde key. I mean, select the object first, hit the tilde key, and then view selected. So this way, your focus plane will be around this new object. I don't want the plane to be here. So I have this mesh that has been assigned this why do I call it this? Let me just call it materials. So I have this, oh, it's so messy. So I have this let me do the same. Oh my god, no. What did I do? What did I do? Undo history. Okay, I hope I didn't break something. Undo history. So let me do the same thing to the view selected. So this bird has materials on it. Let me just make it simple. So imagine this bird has just this material, and I want to copy it over to all of this, which I just imported in yesterday. So the way that I do that, wait a minute, this is not on materials. I'm jumping ahead. Like, this is copying materials. Oh my god. And so my brain is so out of whack. I'm so sorry. This is not a materials thing. This note is just me reminding myself that I need to group the objects based on what I want the material assignment to be. So I'm gonna kind of like push off the material copy a bit for a bit and just show you what I mean by group objects. It's been a tiring week. Felt like I couldn't even have a break over the weekend. I mean, it was quite fun to spend time with family and all that, but there were other things going on. So I feel like my mind hasn't had a break. And I kind of like the longer I don't stream, the more anxious I get of like, oh my god, my work sucks. So like, what am I doing with my life? But I'm streaming today to just overcome that fear again. So let me see. How do I emphasize this? This is group. So group objects based on material assignments. So what this means is that, which I feel like is a lot more straightforward if I bring up my previous sculpt, is that I will kind of have a mental image of what I want to sculpt, of what I want to test render. So right now, I have a test render of everything with one single material. But there are a bunch of things that I want to try in this test render session. Maybe I wouldn't be able to do it today. But there's like a few render looks that I want to try out. So this is quite straightforward, where I want to render I want to test different materials, but all of the objects in the scene will have the same material. So if that's what I want to do, or that's what you want to do for your own sculpt, then I feel like you don't really have to touch the outliner. But then I also want to do a dual material render. That means some parts will have, let's say, a metallic material, and some parts will have maybe like a pearl or marble material, which is what I did over here. Can I just open this? Yeah. With the previous file, everything was more straightforward because there weren't a lot of objects to work with. So I think this, yeah. So you can see that, let me just bring up the render again. So you can see that this girl has some pearl material here, and some parts are metal. So the way that I quickly assign materials to them to do a lot of test materials and to quickly change between different materials while I was testing things out is to just kind of like group them based on what I feel looks nice. Of course, this is kind of like a back and forth thing where you do make the render and you're like, oh, I feel like maybe this stem or this petal looks better if it's metallic. Or I think there was one time when I made these small petals here metallic and I wasn't really digging the look, so I just changed it back to the pearl material. But so what I do is to just group the stuff which I want to be metal, and then that way I'll have this super simple way of just selecting all the pieces which will share the same material, and the others would just be the second material. So I haven't really, this was like really straightforward because it's just like a few pieces. I mean, like the flower petals are all individual pieces, but like in some sense they were all quite straightforward to me. Don't save. I think this one will be a little bit messier just because there's so many pieces, and I think I would want to try and render maybe 3 different materials at one go. So I wasn't really sure how I want to group them up, but I think it makes more sense to just for now group them up based on what the items are. So this, so like the spear tips are all one group because I think Messmer's spear blade is a darker metal than his armor pieces, and then this. they're darker than these pieces right here. They're darker than these. So I kind of want to make like a distinction. Let's say if I want this to be a darker shade of maybe like a gunmetal color, then it'll be easy to just go in there, select these, and then assign the materials or assign a new material. So right now, all these mesh pieces are grouped accordingly to what they are. Let me just hide this. So these are all the high poly stuff. I don't need high poly for the base plate, so I just deleted that off. So like things like the hair, I have high poly. So this is just a test render, so I'm going to render the hair together. I'm going to assign the same hair color, like it really doesn't matter for now. The snake heads are its own, but I feel like I really don't need the snake heads, because I think, yeah, I don't really need snake wings if I need them, but I feel like I probably should just delete this. Messmer looks really weird, but I feel like my boyfriend thinks like maybe he will be a good climber because of the long neck. If you don't know anything about climbing, it seems like people associate long necks with like your ability to climb. And yeah, flames are all together. So maybe I'll do a test render where the flames are maybe more transparent, or they will have a emissive emission or emissive pass so that they glow a bit. So that's all in one group. The birds, the wings. Initially I put the wings and the flames in the same group because they will have kind of like the same materials, but the wings are yellow, flames are orange. It's easier to just split them up for now. Spear tips, debris, so this not needed. That's the body, leather pieces, armor pieces, and the different armor pieces. I'm still not really sure what I want the armor pieces to look like, because the Dark Souls 2 armor is bronze, or like copper bronze. It's not silver. So maybe I would want this to be a separate group, not sure. Then the cape piece is also its own. Yeah, so step 6 is done. You can see, you can even right click on the collection. Collection means groups in Blender. You can right click and change the color. It's quite neat. And the colors will be like that. So let me bring this down. Let me hide this. I'm still a little confused with this sometimes, because like this affects everything, but then I guess handling so many materials, sometimes I will accidentally hide something, or I'll forget to unhide something. So I have to, yeah, it's just like, not gonna lie, like quite overwhelmed with this project. Don't even know what I'm doing with myself. Okay, so the next line, I'm not sure if I need to resize this sculpt to actual size. Oh, I think if you noticed, no, it's not relationship lines, or is it measurements? Oh, I see. Okay. So if you, I'm not sure whether you noticed, but I have all these measurements, but they're just like a trivia kind of thing, I guess. Right now Messmer is like 1.8 meters tall, and Matrix is the best, so I'm just going to use meters. And the goal is 1.15 meters tall. The whole sculpt from the base to the tip of the wings is 3 meters tall. It feels quite cool. I guess it would be really cool to see this printed in with like the total size being 3 meters. Although I feel like that will never happen. I don't have the resources to do that. Yeah, so initially in the previous sculpt, I resized the object so that it is kind of in line. It will be the size of what I possibly want to print, maybe 0.5 meters. So you can see that I scaled down the previous sculpt to this size, and I can do the same with Messmer. It's just that it took so long to scale the object down, the previous sculpt down, because of, I guess, how many irregular polygons there were on the mesh. And I'm kind of like dreading doing that for this sculpt. And also because I'm going to be updating the pieces. So in the future, after making my test renders, in the future when I start cleaning up or refine everything, like the cape for example, when I do that, I just want to export the pieces from Nomad Sculpt and just bring them in and replace the old ones with the new ones. So if I resize this, can I undo this? No, I cannot. Okay, so to delete this, just click on the existing one and press X to delete. So I don't, or you can simply just get out of the measurement tab, and it will hide it. I think I'll just keep this. Here because it feels cool to see this. Is this in line? Yep, it's kind of in line. Okay. Just gonna keep this because I'm a nerd. Okay. Yeah, so you can just click out of this. I think this was one of the confusing parts of using Blender, I think, when I first started out, because I'll click this and then I'll like, oh god, like, what am I doing? How do I delete this? And then I'll try to undo and it doesn't work. Like, you can't undo these things, but you just have to chill out and click on them, delete them out of existence, and that's good. I feel like it's quite, it feels quite nice to remember how much you struggle at the start, and now you're just like, oh, I know how to do this, or like, oh, I know how to deal with that problem. Yeah, I think yeah, so this time around I'll just stick with this being 3 meters tall, because I don't think it matters that much. I think it matters when maybe you are doing product design or interior design, or even like architecture, lighting and rendering, because I think it makes more sense. And also if you watch the Blender Guru Dona tutorial, it makes more sense to do lighting and rendering on the donut when it's an actual size instead of it being 3 meters tall. But I'm just gonna pretend that this is real life and this is 3 meters tall and do my lighting based on that. So that way when I bring in all the new updated and finalized sculpt refinements into this Blender file. I mean, even though I say that this Blender file is for test renders only right now, I'm just going to stick to this file till the end to make my final renders on my final sculpt. So yeah, it just makes more sense for me to not resize anything down to scale. I don't even know whether what I'm saying makes sense, but I think it makes sense to me. So the next thing in line, the node wrangler. Let's see. I think one cool thing that was added to Blender 4.0 is that I'm not really sure all the features, but there are some or maybe just one shortcut key that was only available if you turn this on. So under preference, add-ons, go to node wrangler, and then you turn this on. And what that does is that you can activate the shortcut key, which is Control Shift, hold down Control and Shift, and click on any of this. I hope I don't crash. Yep, so click on any node, and you can see what that looks like on the material. So Control Shift, click on any of the nodes is a really useful thing, and I think in Blender 4.0 that is already on by default without activating the Node Wrangler app, I think. Add-on. The Node Wrangler add-on. So that's cool. But I'm using 4.0, so if you're using any versions below 4.2, I guess you have to do this too. Yeah, I think 4.2 has some cool updates. It's probably really worth for anyone to use 4.2 instead of 4.0. So Control Shift L, left click, Shift A. Let me just bring up my notes here too. Shift A to create new nodes. So that's just a shortcut, Shift A, and you can look for maybe the mix node, mix shader node, like that. X to delete as usual. Control J to create backdrop. So let's say if I have this. Let's say if I have 3 of this, I can just Control J to create a new backdrop. I want to resize this. Why can't I resize this? Oh, I guess I can't resize. Oops. So resizing it would be like this. I don't remember how to bring this out. Control J? No. Let me look up on how to remove nodes from. Alt P. So if I want to take this out, I click Alt P. I guess unparent this to create frame. And the cool thing about this is you can click N to bring up the properties of this, and you can label this. You can label your groups this way. Let me just put this down to remind myself. Alt plus P. Remove nodes from a frame. So let me delete this because I don't need that for now. Personal notes, some materials need crevice data. So because these are all notes copied from my previous project, and let me see this object. There's some stuff which I wouldn't be able to use, I think. Texture coordinate object. I don't remember if I need to. I dropped anything here. So the previous sculpt, I created some crevice data for that, but I don't think I'll be creating crevice data for this one. But which one did I use crevice data for? I don't remember. So anyway, that's just a note that you can ignore because that's just something related to the previous sculpt. Here's onto some UI stuff. Uncheck floor and axis X and Y to remove grid lines. So something that I like to do when I have a file is to, because I do all my sculpting and all my kind of like object manipulations, all the modeling in Nomad Sculpt, so I don't need the grid. I think it's this one. So by default you'll see the grid floor and the X and the Y lines, and like that kind of bothers me a bit. So you can go under the viewport overlays and uncheck the floor and uncheck X and Y. Then this way everything is nice and neat. And then snap lights to camera. So another cool trick which I used a lot in the previous sculpt is to create an empty axis, and I think now's a good time to make another one. So under add empty plane axis, you can create, like, maybe let's say like that, and maybe I'll use this one because it's easier to see. I usually scale it down a bit, maybe like so. And now I've forgotten how to snap things, so I'm just going to move them manually because I can. I guess let's say I want to, I guess I feel like we have to learn how to snap, but it's already here. Let's say I want to render render the snake and the bird, something like this. So I kind of know that I want the camera to frame it here. So I've placed this axis here. And now I'm gonna create a new camera. And just like just gonna bring this out a bit. And scale it down a bit. So now if I, let's say if I set this as my active camera, and what that means is that Blender will render that out. So if I bring this up, and I press render, now this is the frame that Blender is rendering. It looks quite cool too. But you can see like an issue with this is that you can see the edge of the backdrop right here. So ideally you want to rotate the whole sculpt instead of putting the camera at the back. But it doesn't really matter for this right now. So you can see like right now I want to render the snake and the bird, but the camera is pointing off. Like I want it to be here and not here. So I think there's a way to like trackball and all that stuff. I mean, move the camera based on where you're looking. What am I even saying? I know that there's a way to move like rotate and move the camera more easily, but I really suck at remembering all this stuff. So what I like to do is, with the camera selected, you add an object constraint under the constraint properties tab and select track 2. And now I just have to remember which axis. So I want the camera to lock onto this axis. So under the track 2, there's a target. You do an eye drop and you select this empty. And now the camera is locked onto this. So there's still a bunch of things that I have to change. But the cool thing now is that if I move the camera, it will now rotate around that axis, no matter where I am. So let's say if I want a zoom out shot, it's still pointing at the axis. If I want it close up, it's still pointing at the axis. I think over time when you do more and more of this, you kind of have a gauge of like where you want to place the axis and all this stuff. But you can also move the axis around. So let's say I feel like it would be better if the camera points down a little bit more, then I'll move the axis down a little bit. So I think now I'll just move it down a bit, like so. And maybe I'll just do this. Because the problem here is that there's this huge empty area here, which I want to avoid. So maybe I'll like point from like top down a bit more like that. But the empty area is still there, so I'm going to just bring this down like that. I don't really follow any rules, but I try to keep in mind like the rules of that. And I think that is better. think if I yeah, I think it really doesn't matter. Maybe I'll bring it. I guess like further away looks better because at least I'll have the flames in the background. And maybe I'll bring this down more. It's quite a back and forth process. And now I look at I think the thing that amazes me a lot with Blender is that, and like I'm kind of like always amazed when I open Blender again after a long time, is that I can view my Blender live in real time. Like that's really cool. I think it just never gets old. I feel like there's still a bit. Maybe if I I'm just going to maybe if I do this, yeah, maybe it's fine. Why is there a region? I don't even want to render a region. Why am I even rendering a region? Yeah, click something weird. Render. I haven't used render region before, so I don't really know what I click that is causing it to do that all the time. Well, it's a bit messy, which might be fixed with depth of field. Let me just save this real quick. I think ideally I want the snake head to stand out a bit. Oh man. I think that there is also an update with how the depth of field works in Blender 4.2. In 4.0 it's just like this. So I'm going to select this camera, go to the object data properties. Under depth of field, you can check this. I'm just gonna do it manually because I think it's not. Okay, wait, let me try. Like, I think it's not really that ideal, I think. Because I remember in my previous sculpt that I ended up just manually editing the depth of field. So I can show you real quick. And still renders. Was it this one? And let me just show you a discard. But so you can see depth of field can be really nice, but to get this specific depth of field, I think I was setting the distance manually. I think I may be wrong. So I guess right now it's really hard to see. Just going to do this 2.8 on the like 1.4. Wait, what is the standard? I don't remember the standard apertures. I'll just leave it at 2.8. Cool. Let me just look up on how to blend, how to stop render regions. Control Alt B to clear render regions. Oh yeah, I guess it was just the way it was rendering. Okay, so now it's quite cool like this. I think, let me just look up standard aperture, standard f-stop numbers. Oh, I was right, 1.4 is the standard number. I think I'll just render in slot 2. If you're wondering why it's taking a long time to render, I'm rendering it in 4K. Is this 4K? Just because there's so many small details and it just looks really cool in 4K. And right now the time it takes to render a frame is not too bad. I can just do my stuff, like do some stuff while I wait for the render. So I think right now the focus is not right. I think this is cool. So I will just I don't know what's a smarter way to do this, but I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm not really sure whether you can just measure this. Oh God. Like, if I measure it like that, that's it. I need to learn how to snap stuff. Where is this? I'm really super manual when I do my stuff. 2.0. Oh my God, stop it. No. What did I do? Why can't I undo this? Oh my god. Sometimes Blender is so weird. Why is it deciding to undo my measurement? You know, forget it. I'm just going to I guess it's a good time to render by region. Render region. I'm just gonna render this. Does it work like that? Let me stop it. Is this how you mark the region? Like if I render this now, does it? Oh, I see. Maybe it needs to be 2.8. Let me look at what other stuff, because I just went off track. So I didn't even write anything about defocus right here. Snap lights. So this is done. Oh wow, the rendered region is showing up here too. That's cool. Yeah, I think this is good enough. 2.8. I guess just because I'm going to render 2.9. So next one. Oh, these are just like UI stuff which I use a lot, so I wrote it down. If you have a small screen, let's say your screen is like this small, and all these, or maybe you have a lot of split windows, then sometimes these extra stuff will be hidden from view because the window is too narrow. So something that I learned, which I didn't know about until I finished my work, was that you can just hover over this and scroll with your mouse up and down. So that's a cool trick. And like using Blender, it's always good to use the mouse for it. Alt Q to select objects. Oh, and another thing, which I think I'm not going to do in this. Maybe. Why is this open? Let me close this. So let's say I'm in edit mode. Right now it's in object mode, but let me just select a small object. So right now if I'm in edit mode, I can't just click on other objects. One thing that you can do is to go back to object mode and then click this, maybe click this, and then go back to edit mode. You can do that, but I found a shortcut key, which is Alt Q. So when you click Alt Q, let's say if you select this, I think if you click on this, if you click Alt Q, you can quickly swap over to the other mesh. So I click on this, Alt Q. So that's a cool shortcut which I want to save. So I wrote it down. This one I've already mentioned what this is, which is, let's say right now I'm kind of like rotating around this tiny little bird. And if I want to rotate around the base, just click on the base. I mean, this is a good example too. Right now I'm too far. Just click on something that you want to rotate around, like that. Or let's say I want to look at the wings. Now I can rotate around the wings. So this is a good shortcut key to just remember, because if you don't have a numpad, it's really useful. Like, let's see if I do this, then now I'm rotating around that. Let me just go back to the bird. Then for M, move selected objects to new or existing collection. So let's say right now I've already grouped everything based on what I want, but I think like in the beginning of using Blender, I was quite confused with the way this works, because I'm kind of used to like a more manual approach, I guess, and I don't really know how to explain. But this thing of using collections was a little bit confusing to me. Because why was it confusing? Now I don't even remember why it was confusing to me. Now I'm so used to it because I was getting a lot of practice just grouping everything together. But a really good shortcut that I learned while doing these is that I'm just going to do a quick example. Maybe I'll do this. So right now, this one. Right now, Messmer's flame is in the same group as all these other flame columns, spiral. So let's say if I want to move it out, I can just click M, select the object, or select multiple objects. You can click M while it's selected, and you can create a new collection, or you can move it to another. So maybe I put it under lights, for example. Now it will be here. So I think it's good to just remember how to use this. I'm just gonna bring it back to flames, like so. It becomes really easy to organize everything, especially when you have hundreds of objects in the scene. I think the other thing is that kind of like lost my train of thought. What was it that I was encountering while... Oh, the other thing is that you should remember how where you are. Remember where you are. Well, this looks a morbid. Which collection, like all these are called a collection. They are essentially groups. So just remember where you are. So like let's say lights, and let's say if I want this camera to be in a new group, I can put M and then new collection. Let's say snake cam. Snake cam. I think that's... Why is it outside? I thought I have this selected. Wait, let me try again. So I'm going to... Under lights. Let me select... I see. Let me see if... Let me undo that. Oh, I see, because the camera is in a different group. Okay, so let's say this camera is where it should be, which is under this lights cam. Lights cams group. When you select... Why am I... oh my god. Why is it not undoing? I have really no idea when Blender will undo the measurements and when it doesn't. Okay, so right now the camera is in lights and cam group. So when I select this and I make a new collection and I call it snake cam. You know what, I guess it really doesn't matter. So when you create a new group for a new collection for an object or multiple objects, it will bring it out into the main scene collection and put it out here. So this is snake cam. I'll label this as like pink maybe. Snake cam. I think by default too. So let's check the renders. I guess 2.9 is the correct distance. I'm just gonna set it to 2.9. So something that I like to do is to, if I am using depth of field, I will also put the .9. I will also just put it here in case I accidentally change this and then I forget what the distance is. And let's just make sure that everything is correct. Control, I'm just gonna clear this. I really can't be bothered with learning new hotkeys. And then F12. Okay. Let's just keep that rendered in the background. Oh my god, what did I do? No, what did I do? What did I do? Why did it disappear like that? Unlinked collection. What does unlinked collection even mean? Wait, did I stop the render? Yep, I did. Every day is a mess. Okay, I'm going to render this now. I guess move selected, deselect all objects. I think one of the things that I was doing so much of, and so I looked up on the hotkeys, is to select all objects in the collection. So if you If you select a collection, if you right click and select objects, it will select all the objects inside. Right now this one only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are only 6 objects inside, but it's incredibly useful for maybe, where are you? This, when you have like this whole bunch of stuff, you can just right click, select objects, or just look at what is underscored here, which is over here. There's a S is underscored, so you can just right click and press S. Now all his rope strings are selected. So that's something that I want to remember. It's really useful. There's also a way to, like, let's say if you click on this and you want to find it in the outliner, if you have the numpad, you can click numpad full stop, numpad dot for it to kind of like locate itself in the outliner. But I don't have a numpad, so I'll just do like manual location. I think the cool thing is that, let's say if I select this icon here is highlighted, so I know that it's in here. It's just a bit harder if, let's say, the group has way more things inside, but it's over here. So that is done. UI stuff is done. Copying materials. Now to the main event, which is to copy materials. Oh, it looks so cute. The camera angle is really not optimal, but I just wanted to see how it looks like. It's looking really cool. I think this material is from a YouTube channel called Blender Bite Size. It's one of the, I don't remember whether it's like glass with, let me see what it is. Glass with RGB edge aberration. I'm not really sure whether he named this on his YouTube video, but it is exactly what it is. It's a transparent material with let's see. So you have all these things, and then it's kind of like being added to the edges. So this is the default of how it looks like. This is after. It wasn't working out with my previous sculpt, but I think it's looking quite cool with this. Although the lighting and the whole setup is not really that optimal right now. So let me just hide this a bit. So when you look at this original sculpt here, although I guess something cool, which I guess I will show later. First things first, I want to make a new material. So to do that, I'm just going to select this because it'll be easy to select this later on. You can go to, oops, I forgot to put the, can you put, sorry, I need to do something for back from the break. Okay, so I'm going to select this because it's easy to select from this thing. And does this have a material on? I'm not really sure. Let me see if I remember how to do this. So under the materials tab, you can, I'll just remove this because I don't want to use that, and then create a new one, a new slot, and click on new. So now this is a new Blender material. I'm gonna call it I'm just gonna name it material, it's fine. So now I want all these other objects to have the same material as this. Because like, let's say I color this a bit red maybe, then I think it's easier to see that way. And I'm gonna save because when I did this in the previous one, it crashed. So select the material, the object with the material you want to copy over. Select everything else. Then you can right click, material utilities, or shift Q, and copy materials to select it. Or pressing C would also work. So I wrote down here that you can just shift Q and C. Now everything has the same material, and I can adjust it the way I want. I can adjust all of them together. I'm not really sure whether I'm using this high-res. Why is it so? I'm not really sure whether I want to use the high-res models for the renders, because it might slow down. Like it might not really work with the procedural materials maybe. But I'll just keep it here for now as this pink thing, or maybe I guess this blue thing right here. Or is it purple? I can't like manually calibrate my screen, but I'm not really sure whether it's a really good calibration. Okay, so I have this, and when you bring an OBJ file and from Nomad Sculpt that is exported out from Nomad Sculpt, I'm not really sure whether or not it's the same case for any OBJ file export. You, like, as you recall, there was a kind of like a material assigned to it. So there are individual unique materials assigned to all of these too. But now that I have assigned this material to everything, those materials are not. Now all these objects share the same material, and the other material has been kicked out, I think. And when you look at the offering data, and then Blender 4.2 they have changed it to unused data or something, you'll see that there's a whole bunch. I mean, just because this is a lot of objects. Is it really like 1K objects? Really? There's so many? But because now these materials have been kind of like removed from the objects, and I mean replaced. They're just hanging out here doing nothing. So you can go under the orphan data tab. By default, it's the view layer tab, and you can press this purge button. So let me just save. I'm just gonna save this and then click. You can purge, or you can just not X. You can right click and delete. I don't know why X doesn't work. Or you can just feel like I'm not really sure whether I want to click the purge button, because it crashed once before when I was deleting too many materials at one go, maybe. But maybe this is a waste of time. Yeah, it's quite... Maybe I'll just remove more. I guess there is a lot of materials. So you can see all the objects have a unique material assigned, and I don't need them. I don't remember if there's an option to export OBJ without materials from Nomad Sculpt. Kind of feel like I didn't see that in the options, but this is just something that I do when I set up my files and do all the cleanups. And this way, everything is cleaner. All these objects have share the same material. Not sure whether there's a way to see how many materials are in this file, but I think that's fine. So that is how I quickly switch materials. Can also let's see if I take the bird out. I'm going to be doing this a lot later on when I want to create different render looks. So let's say if I want the wings to not be blue but to be glass, then I'll click on this bird, I'll select the wings, and then Shift Q and C. Now the wings have glass. It's really as simple as that. I think that's a really good shortcut to remember. I think now this hex color codes. I think something that you may want to do too is to, let's say if you like a color, you can just go to the hex of this color, copy and paste like that, and then you can say that this is a default blue or something. Let me just hide this and we can go back to the original file. Render stuff set. Okay, so I think with all of that out of the way, I'll just quickly go through what I wrote in the render stuff. Right click when you select a camera, and if you want this to be the view, if you want this to be the view rendered, then you can right click and set this as active camera. Of course there is a numpad shortcut key as usual, but no numpad, so it's fine. I think if I 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, I think I just render it in slot 4. can render this out and just, yep, so now it's rendering this one. And if I go back here and just rotate out, select this camera, right click, set active. And if I render this one, now it's rendering this camera view. So that's something that you have to keep in mind when you start building up tons of camera views to render. I think in my previous file I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe I have 6 camera views. Okay, let me just, so like I have this angle, I have, this is a rejected version, but I have this angle, I have this angle, this one. So I have oh, this one too. So there's like quite a bunch of cameras in the file. I think eventually I broke them, I separated different camera angles to different Blender files. So this one and this one, they are in a separate file from these camera angles. So I think eventually, if I feel like it's too overwhelming, I'm going to start splitting them out. But for now, it's fine. Oh, one really important thing too is that you have to remember that this icon here shows what is going to be rendered. So even right now, if let me just maybe do like, I think this is good. So right now, my high-res sculpt is hidden. But if you notice, this camera is turned on. And if I render that, it will show up in the render. So you see this snake head right here. It has the high poly version showing up in the renders. Escape to cancel the render. So yeah, just remember that you have to turn this off, or turn the group off, like so, and then it shouldn't show up in the renders. Like, this is one of the things that I keep forgetting to do, especially when I'm toggling between when I want to render some of the shots without the backplane, the backdrop. I just like hide the plane and then I forget to switch this off. So it ends up being rendered anyway. So you just have to remember that will show up in the render if the camera icon is not deactivated. What am I doing? Alright. I'm gonna set this as the default render cam. Something else that is really useful to check too is to make sure that the normals are fine. You can see like there's some reds. Red means that the normal is reversed, which is bad for the renders. It'll cause problems. And right now there's a bunch of like speckles in, especially the snake, because I decimated it too much. But like they're so tiny that it really doesn't affect. And I'm not doing this for like a animated, I'm not doing this with like animation and moving camera. So I think all these things as a still render is still fine. And I'm still working on this anyway, so Yeah, so just make sure that everything is, see, the back face will be red, the outer face will be blue, so just make sure that they're blue. And if you have lots of red in the scene, then you have to look up on the tutorial, because I don't remember how to flip the normals. Then change render resolution. So right now I'm just gonna render it like this. F12 to render, F11 to show this. Oh, right. And something else that's good is that when you're in this window here, if you click through J, you can cycle through all the slots that has a render in it. So slot 7 is empty, so they're not going. I think slot 5 is also empty. So when you press J, it'll go through 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So this is a fast way to just cycle through the slots. Okay, so that's all the stuff that I wrote down. And I guess as usual, I overshoot my stream. I'm supposed to be doing some test renders with materials. What am I doing? Well, it's going to be dinner soon. And I'm thinking of doing some wait, let me, kind of like annoyed with this white color. I'm just going to maybe put it to this. Or maybe I just switch it off. I'm thinking of going to the gym or do some climbing later on, so I'll just try to do what I can today. So I have a bunch of I'll just hide this for a while. I have a bunch of materials. I haven't looked at them yet, so we can look at them together. Like Ctrl+Shift+Click here. These are all just materials that I exported from my previous file. So materials like this. This one is which one is it? I think that one's this. Wait, no, it's not this one. I think it's, yeah, I think it's this one. And this metallic part is, which one is it? If you notice, I have all the materials in one shader. Is that what it's called? Or like I have all the nodes in one material. Change to metal, change to marble, H bone, weathered. Which one is this? Why do I not have this? Where's the original? Where did I put it? I just noticed that it's missing. Oh, well, I think it looks quite cool with the pearl material. Let me just quickly just bring this back. File open. Why do I not have that material? Oh, I think I brought it in later on. This, no, it's not this one. No, I think I forgot to bring this in. Let me just see this one. I think if I open this, I should have the material inside this file. Shading. Good files. This, I think it's this one. Yep. Let's see if I can copy and paste this. I hope they let me. No, they don't. I think something that I wish would work is copying notes from another file to this file. I'm not really sure why I can't do something like that. Let me just save this. Messmer. Oh my god. Think. Okay, I think it's clean enough. Okay, I'll save this. I'll save this. Let me just be right back. I'm going to import the material in. I don't recall how to, let's see, import. Or was it a pen? Maybe it's a pen. A pen. You know what, let me just delete this. I don't need this. So if I click on I do this, this is okay. Okay, so I've appended so the way to bring materials in from a different Blender file is to go File and click Append, and then you select the Blender file and you go to the materials folder and select the materials that you want to append. I think that's this was the latest material that I've made for the previous object. Oh my god, this stomach's going crazy. And I'm just gonna copy it over. Why did I, oh my god, name everything materials. Okay, let's just call this random material, random materials. I'm gonna paste this in here. So copy and pasting shaders in the same file works perfectly fine. Now I can look at what it does. Not really sure whether this will look nice, but I will render it. I feel like something's off, but I don't remember what. Alright, I think the environment is wrong. Yeah, I'm gonna put this back to black. Yeah, so this is what material is this? I think it was a Blender bite size H bone material, maybe. I really can't recall. But then I tweaked it, just tweaked like one of the, maybe the metallic slider, maybe. So it looks a bit like metal, but not really. I was just testing on getting all these things here. So I think this is not really working. Yeah, it's not really. Let me look at this one. I think this one is not bad, maybe. Well, the good thing about this too is that while you wait for renders, you can just look around and see what the others are doing. This was the aberration. This one is glass with refractions. I think this is a glass with refraction. I think this glass material is, well, for anyone just dropping by right now, I have gone through my notes, and right now I'm going through all the materials that I've made for my first project, and I brought it into this second project to take a look. I mean, I have the materials already, so I don't have to remake them all from scratch again. I think this is just a glossy BSDF. I think, what's it, like Shift A? When you search, you can search for glossy, or you can search for glass, things like that. I think this was like using noise textures to create wave and a noise texture. But I think the issues with these kinds of textures is that when I apply them to my sculpts, it kind of feels like there are some things that doesn't feel realistic in some sense. I mean, now these look realistic, but like having the lines come here and follow through on a different object, like completely different object, doesn't really make sense to me. Like this vertical line connecting to this, it shouldn't be doing that. But of course, all these procedural materials, I don't really want to go in and tweak every single thing. So and there's so many different options that you can choose anyway. So I just do what looks good. Yeah, I think this one still works. I really like this. This was one of the first material that I created for the previous one. For the previous project. I don't really remember which I don't remember which tutorial I was following to make this. It's probably one of those, like when you search how to make procedural weathered metal or procedural metal materials. If you just quickly YouTube that, one of them is bound to be this, similar to this. The only thing that I tweaked maybe is the color of the metal and the size of the spots and all that stuff. I guess that's quite a lot of changes. But yeah, I think it's working not too bad for this. Yeah, it's really not too bad. Let me see what it looks like with the plane. And while that's rendered, let's look through together on the other stuff. One of the materials that I feel hasn't really worked out that well is marble. I think I tried like 6-7 different marble procedural marble shader tutorials, and I mean this is kind of like the one that is somewhat okay, I guess. Oh wait, I'm on a different shader. But yeah, like all the marble materials has kind of look. Let me just render over this. I don't really like this. They kind of all just look very plastic, maybe, or maybe very plastic, very cheap, maybe. So yeah, like I tried a lot of procedural marble materials and they just never work, I think. Of course, that's also like a user error kind of problem, but I don't really know how to bring out the good qualities of marble. But yeah, I just can't make it work. Like every other material just looks so much better on this that I really just can't be bothered to make a super nice marble with inclusion kind of. Yeah, like I don't know, it's just like maybe this is fine. It's just, I mean, of course I should shade smooth maybe, but like there are so many better options out there that, yeah. Well, I just put this in because I wanted to see how it looks like, and now that I know that it looks like shit, it's out of the way. Next is anastrophic. This looks quite cool, I think. Wait, do I have my... I forgot to put in the HDRI, but before that I'm going to I'm not really sure whether selecting lights and cameras and doing the shade smooth affects them. I kind of just like to turn off the extra stuff and shade smooth. Oh shit, I hope it doesn't crash. I think if I shade smooth, everything will look a bit better. Yeah, I don't know, this looks quite bad. I'm just gonna quickly put the HDRI in. I created a new workspace just to, if you go to shader editor and change the shader type to the world, you can access this in the node graph form. It's just a really simple way to just connect and disconnect the HDRI. Don't crash. Oh my god. I need to remember to save every time I do something dodgy. Yep, so if I connect this now, HDRI should be there. Yep. This is just one of the free HDRIs that I like to use. I think HDRIs really make things a lot better. You just can't get this kind of color variations with just lights, I think. I should have saved the previous one just to make a comparison. But this HDR gives a kind of like a dusty purple shadow color. When you look at the shadows, you can see that coming in. But it's not just like one single color. You can see there'll be a variation of colors coming in based on how the HDRI is rotated and all that stuff. So if I compare this to this, I mean, it's not really a one-for-one comparison, but you can see like before, there's no colored bounce light, and then now there's more kind of like color coming in. Just a really quick way to give it kind of like a filter, I guess, a color filter. I think this is coming from HDRI. Of course, depending on the HDRI, you will have different colors too. This one I was using this for this one, and then this is a different HDRI. This was a different one, or maybe this might be just a solid color for the background. But this is like a sunset HDRI. But it looks nice, but I don't think I'll be using it. So I guess Oh, I will not post it online when this is done. I think dinner is happening soon. Let me just quickly look through this. Actually, now that I think about it, this object is a lot larger, so I'm not really sure whether I need to adjust the noise patterns. Like this one looks okay. This material is another material where I kind of feel like it's not going to work. I think. Like there's some cool features going on with this. But I feel like the other, where was that? Oh, I haven't rendered that one out yet. Sometimes when Blender lags or freezes, it's quite scary. Okay, let me just render this out just to see how it compares, because they're two different metal. One is anistrophic and one is a kind of like a dotty metal piece. You want to see the renders? Oh, wait.
You're not recording now, right?
No, it is. Oh my god, I overwrote the wrong place, the wrong slot. This is the one last time. This one is the glass with some depth of field. This one's like metal with cracks, but then it still looks quite slimy. I don't know why. And this is the same as this, but with HDRI. I guess it's like doesn't really work for big stuff because it kind of feels just really flat. Unless maybe I change this to like 4D. I think there's a way to change this to 4D. I forgot how to do it. Sign? No. Maybe just copy this. I'm just showing my boyfriend how things have been looking. Okay, let me go back to... I'm testing out. So I noticed that the noise pattern on the metal kind of looks really flat. Like it's not conforming to the folds of the clothes. I feel like maybe it's still not working out. One. Which slot is this? 7? No, 5. It's not really doing anything. Maybe I'm adjusting the wrong Maybe I'm adjusting the wrong. I think it's this one. What happens if I 3D? I guess the 4D is looking better. But then I don't really know how to, like right now this is looking really flat. Oh, but it is, what if I do Y? Does it still look flat? Z? I feel like they're not really working out. Was it accent sign by default? Can I undo it? Okay. Yeah, I don't really know how to. I'm not sure whether you're seeing this, but right now it feels like there are different I think there are different planes happening like this, but then it's like just projecting like that, and so I don't see these kinds of natural I don't see the noise, the wave pattern following the curves of the cloth. But I think it doesn't matter. So most probably I would just use this material as like the previous one. I'm just gonna use this material like how I was using it for this one, where I just use it for like the thinner or the smaller pieces. Use it as an accent piece. Let me just put that note in. Okay, but I think I'll use this one definitely use this one because I don't know, I just really like this material that I was using. I really like the color that I chose too. What color did I choose? This one. I think this is like an orange kind of going towards yellow, and this one is just, I think I just made it like if you look at the HSV, the HSV, or is it just this slider? Let me see. Yeah, I think like I just click on this and then I just push it up there like that, just to give it some, because I think initially I did try put a kind of like a different color variation, so the shadow is like maybe redder, and then the lighter color is maybe more yellow, but then it kind of like looks too much for me, and a lot of the colors will come from the HDRI, the variations I mean, will come from the HDRI and the lights that you put in. I think right now I have 2 orange lights. Yeah, I have 2 orange lights and one slightly blue and one's white, and that is, I think those things are enough to give the color variations that it needs. So I've looked through this. The problem with this material is that these where is it? The bump map is based on these cracks here, and I feel like it maybe it's not working as what I feel like cracks would be. Well, I guess the problem is that it's too thick. Let me see if I can. 7:15. Let me just quickly. Let me see first. If I do like 1, no, 10. I guess these are not. I guess these doesn't affect it. Like this is really pushed to the limit. It's just too thick. Yep. I don't think I'll be using this one. Although I guess if I can find out how to make these less chunky, the lines, maybe this might be nice. This frosted glass looks like shit. I think, let me move this. Okay. Brush metal. Maybe I might want to adjust this a bit. I think I'll keep these. Yeah, it's not ruined. I don't think it looks that. Doesn't look that great. Let me see if this one works. I guess it's just these 2 left. I'll just render these out to look at them. Yeah, this one is not working too. Which one is next? I guess I'll test this one. And then test the last one before I head off for dinner. One of the things that I do with rendering the different materials as a whole is to kind of like pick out the different characteristics that I like for each of them. And that's how I usually decide what I want to do for this. Because I haven't tried the different HDRIs that I saved. HDR render with different HDRIs. So I'm gonna put a note there next time. Marble still looks like shit. I don't really know how to remove this plastic quality from the from all the marble tutorials out there. Yeah, it's just not working out. Sometimes too, the different nodes, I guess, they can create unexpected quirks, if you want to call it that. I don't want to call it that. Where like I don't really know why it's doing this, but they might be getting the information based on maybe the object data. And so usually if something like this happens, I will kind of like just ditch the material because it's really not. Let me see what's going on. It's not really showing up here. Well, if it's not showing up there, then I don't know what is going on. It might be that there is a node that is breaking somewhere. So I'm gonna ditch this. That's not really what I want. Let me try the last one. Well, I'll just save this anyway. Actually, I think did I render this out before? Oh yeah, I guess I did render this. I've forgotten that I've rendered this. Oh, but now it's a really good example of what a HDRI can give you. So this is before HDRI, I think, and this is after. Let me just check this the same I think this is the same material. Yeah. Not. I think this was a free Blender add-on. Maybe it's called Blender Kit. And the name of the HDR is called Evening Night Sky. It looks like this. So if you come across it, I think you can give it a shot because I think it's quite pretty. So yeah, like the nice thing about HDR is that these are like the details in the HDRI, the mountainscape or the clouds, maybe. I think I'm not really sure, but they help to like maybe if you go here you can see the clouds here maybe and then you see the mountains here or the sky, the sun. So just by putting the HDR in, you see how flat this looks like. Once I put it in, like it kind of hides how flat it looks. Even the cape, because I haven't refined the sculpt for the cape. I need to put deeper clothes. I need to put a deeper crease on the clothes fold. But just by doing this, I'm not really sure whether something's broken. Like I'm not really sure what's going on between this and this. Oh wait, this is a different material, sorry. Yeah. You can see, like, because the HDR has blues, purples, and oranges, it just is a really simple way to just add all these colors, which I like a lot, into it. Also puts a lot of if there's a sun or a bright areas in the HDRI, it can also create a cool highlight based on where the sun is, because you can, I think, under, where is it? Oh, I guess under vector you can put location. Under vector maybe you can, is it combine XYZ or something? But you can choose one. If you just look out online how to do it, because I'm not going to rotate the HDRI, but you can put that in and you can rotate this. But I like the orientation that it is now, because the light source is here and it's pointing to the sculpt. And like if I tweak all these kind of things, like the HDRI and all that, I'll just end up spending too much time that I can spend elsewhere. So yeah, I think this is cool. I think one of the issues though with my renders, which I feel like it's just a problem, just an older render. But one of the issues that I'm having is that the background is the plane is too flat. Like it's just a constant. So I'm trying to figure out a way to to add like maybe a textured look, which I know that can be easily done in the painting software when I export this out, but sometimes it's nice to just get everything done in Blender. But I'm not really sure how to go about doing that, and I'll think about it in a later time. So I think that's about it. I think I still kind of like this metal. I just need to tweak it a bit, but I don't like all these. Although I'll keep them just in case. I don't think they take that much space anyway. Oh yeah, I forgot to try this one out. Let's do that before I go. Let me save these first. Alt S. Wait, I'll be done in like 5 minutes. Alt S, save it. Make sure that you create a new folder for 0910. And now save. Save this image. Save this image. As a general rule, I like to put the date of the renders, the name of the project. TR just means test render, and version 001, just to make things clean. So I've saved these two out. I just saved them as PNGs because they're just going to be, what was I doing? Color management, just making sure that, okay. Yes, I'm just keeping them as an archive. So, one final render before dinner. I think I just really like pole materials. And I guess that's the thing that that's the thing that make the pole materials work, I guess, is that the glossiness of the material doesn't work against the procedural materials. But I guess the only downside with the pole material is that I would need to use the high poly sculpt for it, because like things like the flames, it's not really looking that great. But things like his hands, it's like alright with this material. Like the small stuff are fine. The bat wings are fine with this material. So yeah, like you can see the glossiness of the pearl. It's working, at least in my opinion, it's working quite well with the look of with like how pearls should look like. Whereas this kind of gloss, which you kind of have to make the gloss for marble, they just don't work out, I think. So I will save this. Yeah, so I guess I'll save all these, and I guess just for, because I accidentally overwrote that. I think it's this one. Let me save it. Yeah, I'm not really sure whether I'm just not doing enough for the marble materials. Which reminds me, like, one of the reasons why I'm not using Blender 4.2 is that, I guess, I'm not really sure, I haven't tested this yet, but I'm guessing that maybe certain stuff would break, or I'm already used to using the node graph of 4.0, and I guess I see a lot of very cool updates with the node graph with 4.2, but I don't really want to spend that time right now to look at it. So yeah, that's also another reason why I am still stuck on 4.0. Yeah, so based on these, I'm just gonna like look at the different parts and make a judgment on, like, let's say I want a rendered look with dual materials, metal and non-metallic. The non-metallic part can be anything. Maybe this, or maybe this one. It's still not looking that great. So I'm just gonna like look at, like, this is really not working for these things. Let me look at the other metal piece. This metal is still quite weird, because there's some weird, I think I tried to adjust it once and then I kind of broke the shader, so I undid it. But the way this shader is this like node graph is configured, the metal has some weird sliminess happening. I think it's because I tried to just change the marble material to metal, and because of that there's some settings that I should remove, but I don't know what to remove. Yeah, glass is just I think it just looks really cool, so I need to render that out. But maybe I'll do this glass material and try render it with different colors. I think right now this, where are you? I think right now, oh, this glass is white, so I guess there's something making it black in the this area is quite white. Yeah, I don't know. I think I can quickly just bring up I can quickly just bring up one of my other HDRI. Maybe it's, no, I'm just gonna bring everything in. Just bring everything in. I think there was one that might fit the look of this. Yeah, I'm not sure which one. It's not really working out, but yeah. Can't remember that I have a HDR that shows a really orange look, and I feel like that might work with the theme of this sculpt. Because like when you look at the gameplay trailer of Messmer, Elden Ring DLC, the scene is quite like orange yellow because the boss arena is kind of like just all stone with candles around and maybe some curtains and all that stuff. So yeah, but this is not the this the completely wrong look for this. I guess it's just more of like a product placement kind of look. I guess it'd be really cool to be able to render the spear tips out as a pen, like those glass pens. They kind of look like glass pens, I guess. Let me look. Okay, wait. Tilde key. You select it. Yeah, if you think about it, these looks like glass pens. Like Messmer is holding a super large glass pen. I really like using glass pens to write because they are pretty smooth if they're made well. They're quite smooth and they have like a uniform width, so it's quite it feels quite nice to write with, like just write notes and all this stuff. And depending on the barrel design, some of the glass pens can hold quite a lot of ink. So like, I mean, this is not a glass pen, but it kind of feels a little bit like it. Like they have this spiral going on. So when you dip the pen into the ink, these crevices will hold like some ink in them with like the water tension. And depending on the design, you can write quite a lot before you need to refill the ink. Yeah, let me just change it back to evening night sky because I like that one. And I guess to end it, I'm going to change it back to this one. Yeah, so I've rendered out the different materials. I don't think I'll be making any new materials for this sculpt, just because like just because I think the existing materials that I have already like is already enough for it. I think I just need to change the colors of some of them. I think maybe I'll get inspired by one of the pieces and be like maybe that will look nice with a clay look, but I think right now it looks really good as they are. Yeah, that's cool. Well, this is not a tutorial, but if you found it helpful, I'm really happy that I could accompany you on your own Blender journey. And yeah, I think it just looks really awesome. I think it hasn't really synced into me yet that this is right in front of my face. Yeah, sometimes I work on my stuff for so long that I'm kind of desensitized to looking at them. And like that's also kind of why I get depressed a lot, because I kind of forget that I like the stuff that I make. I mean, it sounds quite weird, but I guess that's just how it works when you are chronically depressed. But yeah, I just have to remind myself that this is really cool. Yeah, it's so cool. Okay, I will end it here. The next time I'll start doing the lights, the cameras, and like right now this camera shot is too like front facing. I think a little bit of diagonal would help. Like it looks a bit flat, I guess. So that's something that I'll need to change. Set up lights properly. Just set up, write down my to-do list for the next one. Change setup and yeah, I think that's about it. I'll see you in the next one.